welcome back to the OS podcast. Hope you are well. Now, I can pretty safely assume almost everyone wants to be able to stay lean while eating more food or increasing your maintenance calories, increasing your metabolism. So, maintaining a lean body composition is one, easier to do, and two, much more enjoyable. So, you can actually eat a good amount of food, which will then fuel your training, help you build more muscle, etc. So, if you've ever been on a long cut for months and had sky high hunger, your leptin is low, the satiating hormone, ghrelin, through the roof, your hunger hormone, and your cut is becoming, well, very difficult, then you likely don't want to experience a fat loss phase like that again. Now, if you haven't and you're listening to this podcast, well, you're in luck because you'll never have to, because that is usually the result of either a very poor approach to fat loss with no concept of fatigue management, smart nutrition, and expenditure adjustments, or it can be potentially because your caloric set point, metabolism, maintenance calories is so low that you have no room to further create a deficit. So, in today's episode, we'll cover how to increase your metabolism to need more food without ruining your body composition, the step by step approach to progressively increasing your caloric intake to mitigate unwanted body fat, then some extra tips that can come into play surrounding NEAT, mitochondrial health, and micronutrient deficiencies. So, how do we go about increasing or speeding up our metabolism? Well, first, we got to understand that your metabolism is highly adaptive. It's not a static process or something that's just like stuck at one spot. It's constantly responding to your lifestyle choices. So, prolonged caloric restriction, for example, teaches your body over time to conserve energy. And this makes fat loss a lot harder, increases hunger, and can make the level of calories and output you need to do to maintain or progress your deficit pretty crazy. But we can solve this by gradually increasing your caloric intake in a controlled, systematic way, which allows you to achieve two things. One, prepare your body for far more effective fat loss phases in the future. And two, build lean muscle while minimizing fat gain, as muscle is a metabolically active tissue, meaning the more you have of it, the more calories your body burns doing nothing at rest. This is why you'll see highly muscular individuals need 4, 5, 6,000 calories a day when they're in a calorie surplus. Now, while most of us are not going to have pro bodybuilder type requirements because we have nowhere near as much muscle, the principle remains the same. Adding lean muscle tissue increases your metabolism. And then, along with increasing your metabolism, a ton of other very positive benefits come with muscle tissue, like regulating blood glucose and insulin sensitivity, factors that directly impact fat storage and energy availability. Now, aside from building more muscle, there are a couple main things we can do that will go a long way. One, optimizing sleep quality and duration. Now, sleep is so important for regulating key hormones like leptin, ghrelin, and cortisol. If you get poor sleep, you'll disrupt these hormones, which then will pretty obviously lead to increased hunger, impaired insulin sensitivity, and reduced energy expenditure. So, by prioritizing your solid 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep, not only are you supporting your metabolism, but you're also improving your recovery, enabling you to train harder and then build more muscle because of it. Also, great sleep optimizes your thyroid function, which plays a direct role in your metabolic rates. So, to keep your thyroid healthy, I'd ensure you have adequate selenium, zinc, and iodine in your diet because they're needed to make your active thyroid hormone. The next is maintaining or increasing your activity levels. So, staying consistent with your cardio and especially your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT, the calories you burn through just daily movement, like walking, fidgeting, bobbing your head, even cleaning. So keeping a step goal around 8 to 10,000 a day is pretty much a non-negotiable for whatever phase you're in. Okay, so how do you increase your metabolism by increasing your food intake over time to be able and eat more calories at maintenance? So we're increasing our maintenance calories. This is where people go wrong, including myself in the past, either rushing the process and trying to increase calories way, way too fast, which leads to fat gain, or the other side of the equation, underestimating how much attention to detail it requires to do this effectively. If your goal is to get your daily caloric intake as high as you can and work it up there without putting on any body fat, you're going to have to do a few of the following things, and I'm going to step by step lay this out for you. So first, start with your baseline. Calculating your current maintenance calories, the amount of food you're eating to maintain your weight right now. If you've been eating in a caloric deficit for a long period of time, Try to find your maintenance. An easy way to do this, or at least start, give you a good accurate start point. Body weight times 15 is usually maintenance. However, if you've been in a deficit, that number will come down because of all the down regulation that has occurred, especially if you've been in a deficit for a long time. So obviously it's going to be highly individual dependent, but again, try body weight times 15. If you've been in a deficit for a while, the best recommendation I can give you without knowing your exact situation, because if I knew how much weight you lost, let's say you lost a pound, you could calculate, okay, a pound's roughly 3,500 calories, and I would add this amount of calories. But I just try, jump up to body weight times 14, see what happens to your weight. There will be a small increase in glycogen and water retention. That's something to keep in mind. So then I would say stay there for 2 weeks, see what happens. If you're still increasing, pull that number down. If you're dropping weight, which sometimes likely what happens after post diet, you increase your food. Now all of a sudden your NEAT increases, and then your body starts ramping up. Then increase that food so you find your maintenance. Next is tracking everything. So meticulous tracking ensures that you're progressing in the right direction. So we want to keep a close eye on scale weight. So daily fluctuations are completely normal. So we weigh ourselves every day to use the average at the end of the week and then compare it to the previous week's average. And the goal is to gain 0.25 to 0.5% of your body weight each week. Next, we want to be tracking performance metrics. So logging your training with an app, like shameless plug, my clients get my coaching app. An app called RepCount works as well. Notes on your phone. Some people do pen and paper. Doesn't really matter, but we want to be progressing our training each week, either by slightly increasing the weight, progressing reps, or by improving our technique. Or my favorite approach is a double progression model, where let's say you set a rep range 5 to 8 reps. Each week you go in there, you try to beat the reps you got the week before until you reach the top of the rep range, and then you up the weight to send you back down that rep range. That's pretty straightforward, pretty damn optimal approach to progress your training. Now, the third step is to make adjustments in small increments. So once your weight and performance stabilize at your current caloric intake, it's time to increase food, but only by small amounts. So think of it like your training. The best way to apply progressive overload is to yield the most amount of muscle growth is to add 1 rep at a time, or a very little amount of weight, say 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds every time you do an exercise, provided you're training to failure. Same with nutrition. We want to add 100, maybe 200 calories per day, typically from carbs. And if you're not sure where to add calories, consider adding those carbs around your workout first and your pre and post, maybe intra. So let's say I'm eating 2,000 calories. Last week I gained 0.5% of my body weight. Training was progressive. There's no need to make a change. Now this week my weight stayed the same and my gym performance stalled. Now I'd add in, let's say, 50 grams of carbs per day, which is 200 calories. And then I'd let that ride until my body weight and gym performance stalls again. And then add another 50 grams of carbs. And then repeat that process. And the reason I say add in food, not only when body weight stalls, but also when training performance stalls, is that if you're still progressing in the gym on that level of food, there's no reason, in my opinion, to make a change, especially if you want to keep a tight hold on the accumulation of body fat, because it's now proven that you can build muscle at maintenance as well. So to optimize your results, another part of the equation is the macronutrient breakdown of your diet 100% matters. So with protein, at least your 1 gram per pound of body weight, that's usual recommendation. Some people like a little higher, 1.2. Some people can get away with 0.8. When it comes to fats, you want to keep those relatively stable, around 0.3 to 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. Now within that is going to be completely based off preference, but I tend to favor lower fats and then prioritize carbohydrates, which should make the rest of your surplus. And I would highly recommend choosing nutrient-dense, minimally processed foods to make up at least 95% of your diet, and 2 to 3 different fruits and vegetable sources per day. So you're optimizing your micronutrient status alongside, which will then optimize your hormone status, which will then play an effect into your ability to stay lean, eating more food. So by following this structured approach, you'll be able to progressively increase your caloric intake in a way that supports your performance, improves your physique, and improves your metabolism, essentially, for long-term success. So it is a delicate balance, but with consistency and, most importantly, attention to detail, like you're tracking, you'll be able to be eating more food, performing better, and you won't have any of the drawbacks of an unnecessary fat gain. So now that we've covered the foundational steps to progressively increase your caloric intake, there are a few strategies that can further improve your results, let's say. So NEAT we touched on a little. Mitochondrial health and micronutrient optimization each play a role in how your body processes and utilizes energy. So first, maximizing NEAT. NEAT again refers to all the calories you burn throughout the day that isn't intentional exercise. So like small stuff, walking to grab your coffee, even like tapping your feet under your desk, but cumulatively, NEAT can account for hundreds, if not thousands of calories burned each day. So some practical ways we can maximize our NEAT is simple. Like I said before, aim for 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Walking is king. If you can break this into smaller chunks, let's say 10 minutes, 15 minutes after meals can be particularly effective for digestion as well as blood sugar control. And then some other things you can do. Instead of, let's say, sitting for hours, if your job involves long periods at a desk, you can stand a little bit while working. You maybe pace around during calls, setting a timer to move every 30, 60 minutes. And the last way is just to make movement a habit. Take the stairs, park farther away. These almost like micro movements they honestly seem trivial, but they 100% stack up over time. Now, optimizing mitochondrial function is another very cool aspect of this. So your mitochondria, you probably heard, the powerhouse of the cell. These cellular engines drive everything from muscle contractions to recovery to how many calories you burn to your ability to produce energy, your ability to burn body fat. So healthy and efficient mitochondria enable your body to burn calories more effectively, recover faster, and then also adapt to increase energy demand. So to optimize mitochondria, first, weightlifting is effective at triggering mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. Zone 2 cardio, another one, which is sustained moderate intensity work, also plays a role in building endurance at a cellular level. Fueling your mitochondria with antioxidants rich foods like berries, leafy greens, fatty fish. You can go ahead and supplement with CoQ10, glutathione, ubiquinol, NAC as well to help combat oxidative stress, which damages your mitochondria over time. There's a cool supplement called urolithin A that recycles damaged mitochondria and replaces them with new healthy ones, which is something I'm trying out right now. Very, very cool stuff. And it's particularly relevant to me because they did a study on young trained individuals. So it's pretty cool to see that. And there are also supplements like NMN or NR that can raise NAD plus levels. But it depends how old you are. This is usually for older individuals. As you age, NAD will decline. So depends on your age there. Now, when you're doing all this, I'm going to stress the importance of consuming a whole food diet because if you have any micronutrient deficiencies, you can be completely assured that your metabolism will be slower. For example, zinc plays a role in metabolic processes and thyroid function, which will directly impact your basal metabolic rate or resting energy expenditure, your BMR. A study showed from 1984 that men consuming a low zinc diet experienced a significant drop in their BMR. And then once their zinc intake was increased to an adequate level, their BMR returned to then normal, along with improved thyroid hormone levels, including T4 and free T4. And more recently, a 2023 trial showed that overweight and obese individuals supplementing with zinc, 25 milligrams a day, and selenium while following a hypocaloric diet, a caloric deficit, had a significant increase in their resting metabolic rate, rising by over 400 calories per day. That is literally an extra, very decent meal. So that just shows how even a single micronutrient deficiency can slow your metabolism quite significantly. Now, zinc is just one example. Others, such as magnesium, iodine, selenium, and vitamin D, all equally important, which is why a whole food diet rich in diverse, nutrient dense foods is a non negotiable for optimizing your metabolism. Okay, so now you're slowly increasing your caloric intake. You're keeping NEAT nice and high, walking, parking farther. You're prioritizing whole food. You're now prioritizing your sleep, taking care of your mitochondrial health, which is putting you in the best position to be able to eat more calories while staying lean, increasing your metabolism, and making it much easier to either maintain your current level of body fat or be able to diet on a higher amount of calories. So your cutting phases are much more enjoyable. You'll get far better outcomes out of the diet as well. So that is a wrap on today's podcast. Touched on diet and sleep a little bit, but I do have two full podcasts on those. which I'll link below. And if you want a free 30 days of transformation advice, including your calories and macros done for you, along with grocery plans, training plans, two options, a 4 times per week plan and a 5 times per week plan, all for free, click the link in the description for a free 30-day email series. Peace.